Hello and welcome to another TLDR EU video. As we've covered time and time again on this channel, this year Germany's going through a super election year. After a series of regional elections, Germans will, in September, vote on who is to succeed the very long-standing incumbent Angela Merkel in the Chancellorship. At one point, it looked like Germany was set to end up with a Green Chancellor, but not so much anymore. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what's happened, why Baerbock is in the limelight once again, and what it could mean come September. If you don't already, consider following us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, where we're about to start posting far more often. There's links below, so don't miss out on any of the fun. Let's rewind to what we said in April, when the German Greens were riding high. In April, before Annalena Baerbock was chosen to be the Greens' candidate for Chancellor, the Greens were a matter of percentage points behind the CDU-CSU alliance. As April turned into May, the Greens were actually consistently polling above the CDU-CSU. 11 separate polls conducted in the first half of May put the Greens ahead, or at least tying. One poll conducted by Forza at the very beginning of May put the SPD on 14%, CDU-CSU on 23%, and the Greens with a 5-point lead, sitting comfortably on 28%. We say comfortably, but that's when issues started to arise, and arise fast. Like putting petrol into a diesel car, things started to go wrong, specifically on 3 fronts: regional elections, bonuses, and Baerbock herself. Let's start with the regional elections. In early June, the Saxony-Anhalt region went to the polls to elect a new federal state government. And while a Green landslide was not expected to materialise, the Greens' performance was, well, underwhelming, receiving just shy of 6% of the vote, an improvement of only 0.7%. For context, the Christian Democrats amassed in excess of 37% of the vote, an improvement of 7.3% from 2016. Then, in May, it was revealed that Annalena Baerbock had failed to disclose a Christmas bonus paid to her by her party, leading to an expenses scandal. Although it was quickly rectified, with Baerbock stating that she wasn't aware at the time of the requirement to declare this bonus, and that the record had been corrected accordingly. This, however, immediately led to a dip in popularity, as in the words of Reuters, it was a scandal that made them look as grubby as their more established rivals. The third reason is Baerbock herself, because since being selected as the Greens' candidate, a number of allegations have been levelled against Annalena Baerbock, or specifically, what she's written. Firstly, there are accusations that Baerbock had falsely claimed membership of a number of high-profile institutions, including the German Marshall Fund and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Following repeated calls and questioning, these membership claims were revised, with the Greens' official spokesperson writing on Twitter, as a result of queries about membership cited on Ms. Baerbock's CV, the information was adjusted and corrected. Baerbock has more recently come under scrutiny over her book too. The book had been positioned as a personal manifesto for Baerbock, laying out just how she would govern if she were to assume the chancellorship in September. Speaking to Reuters at her book launch, Baerbock highlighted that politics is often made for the here and now, and not from the perspective of future generations, and that yes, I would like to do differently. Differently here might be the operative word, because opponents, most notably Austrian academic Stefan Weber, have claimed that several passages in the book have simply been copied and pasted from news articles and Wikipedia entries, without proper referencing or crediting. Accordingly, the CSU Secretary-General said that this episode is in keeping with Baerbock. She deceived deliberately, worked sloppily, and again piled on when it comes to her own performance. This appears to be systematic with Annalena Baerbock, and once again shakes her credibility. It must be stressed that Baerbock and the Greens have strongly denied these accusations, stating that they are attempts at character assassination. So much so that they've proceeded to hire Christian Schertz, a highly renowned libel lawyer. Specifically, Schertz stresses that the accusations are without any basis, with the information cited being in the public domain, and thus not in violation of any copyright law. Add to all of these scandals, after finishing her 45-minute speech at her party conference, Baerbock managed to very publicly swear into a live mic, something that didn't go down all that well. All of these scandals and controversies put together have worked to ruin the image of Baerbock and by extension the Greens as a safe pair of hands. As Die Zeit wrote in the aftermath of these allegations, the election campaign will be tough because sections of the public could not wait for the Greens to trip up, and that all of that has been apparent for months now. Ever more surprising that mistakes are being made precisely where they could have been avoided. Beyond Baerbock, the Greens have suffered further difficulties due to comments by their co-leader, Robert Harbeck. After meeting the Ukrainian president in May, Harbeck publicly supported selling arms to Ukraine, stressing that it would be difficult to deny Ukraine's request for defensive weapons, a move that not only caught the German people off guard, but his colleagues too, especially when you consider that one of the party's founding principles is that of pacifism. Whether or not you agree that the Greens are making easily avoidable mistakes, the CDU-CSU Conservative Alliance has, in a surprise to no one, capitalised on them. The polling results we mentioned at the top of the video have reversed, and according to a recent YouGov poll, the SDP now stand at 16%, the Greens at 18%, and the CDU-CSU Alliance at a whopping 29.5%, an 11.5% lead. Taking a 14-day rolling average, the picture doesn't improve for the Greens too much, who stand at 20% compared to the CDU-CSU's 29%. Part of the issue here comes down to the polls themselves. As Olaf Bolk, Berlin director at Rasmussen Global, told Euronews, the polling figures in April were totally unrealistic, with the wealth of support not arising from pull factors to the Greens, but rather push factors from the CDU-CSU alliance. The Greens said from the beginning that they are aware of the fact that these would not be the numbers on the election day. On the one hand, the Greens performed so well because the CDU performed so badly, but at the moment, the CDU reset their process and re-established themselves. Those sympathising with the more moderate conservative part of the Greens went back to the CDU camp. There is, in any case, just under 3 months, and as the common idiom goes, a week is a long time in politics. Anything can and invariably will happen in the months ahead. But what do you think? Did the Greens pick the right candidate for the chancellorship? Has Germany's green wave changed course? Or is a tsunami on the horizon? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.